Hi, my name is Chris Jackson. I am a practicing business attorney with over 25 years of experience, and today I'm going to discuss the Corporate Transparency Act. This act is going to be effective as of January 1st, 2024, and you need to comply with it if you have an LLC or a partnership or a corporation, unless you're one of those exempt companies, and I'm going to talk about that. If you don't comply with it, you are risking criminal penalties, including up to 2 years in jail, along with fines maxing out at $10,000. So I'm going to go through 10 important questions about the Corporate Transparency Act. I'm going to go through it in a straightforward and simple manner. I'm going to exclude legalese. I'm going to make sure that by the end of this video, you have a sound understanding of whether you have to comply, how to comply, and when to comply with the Corporate Transparency Act. The 10 questions I will address are: number 1, what is the Corporate Transparency Act? Number 2, which companies must comply with the Corporate Transparency Act and which are exempt? Number 3, whose information must you disclose? And I'm going to answer that question right now, right off the bat. You have to disclose information about your company, about what's called the beneficial owner or owners of the company, and about the company applicant. Number 4, who are the beneficial owners? What does it mean to be a beneficial owner, and who would be the company applicant? Number 5, what information must we disclose about the company and about the beneficial owners and about the company applicant? Number 6, when do we need to file the report disclosing that information? Number 7, are we required to file an annual report? Are we required to update the report? What about if we need to correct a previously filed report? Number 8, and I know this is a question a lot of you will have, who will have access to this information? Number 9, what are the penalties if you don't comply with the reporting requirements? And number 10, how to file the report. All right, so let's address question number 1. What is the Corporate Transparency Act and why do we have it? It is a law that is designed to prevent money laundering by requiring certain companies, the non-exempt companies, to provide information about the company, about the beneficial owner, and about the company applicant to the U.S. Treasury's Financial Crimes and Enforcement Network, also known as FinCEN. Number 2, what companies must comply with the Corporate Transparency Act? And the answer is any LLC or corporation or partnership, any entity that has registered with the Secretary of State in a state in the United States must comply unless you are an exempt company. And we're going to go over that next. So certain companies are exempt from having to comply with the Corporate Transparency Act. Examples of entities that are exempt would include a publicly traded company, certain nonprofits, certain financial institutions, registered investment advisors. The list goes on and on. There are a total of 23 exempt entities. I will put a link to the FinCEN frequently asked questions along with the FinCEN small entity compliance guide under my video in the description in case you need to get additional information about whether your company is in fact an exempt entity. Also, importantly, if your company meets the following requirements, then you do not have to comply with the Corporate Transparency Act. Number 1, you have 20 or more full-time employees in the United States. Number 2, your company reported $5 million or more in US-based revenue in the prior year. Number 3, your company has a physical presence in the United States, or your company is a wholly owned subsidiary of one of the above mentioned companies, the 23 exempt organizations or the companies that are meeting the employee and revenue requirement and are operating in the United States. Okay, so the third question of the 10 questions is, whose information must you disclose? As stated before, you have to disclose information about the company, the beneficial owners, and the company applicant. Again, we're going to go over the definitions of these shortly. However, if the company is formed before January 1st, 2024, you do not have to disclose information about the company applicant. So that brings me to number 4. Who are the beneficial owners and company applicants? Okay, starting with beneficial owners. What is a beneficial owner? A beneficial owner is someone who owns or controls 25% of the ownership interest of a company or exercises substantial control over the company. All right, so you're probably wondering, what does it mean to own or control 25% of the ownership interest of a company? I'm going to give you 3 examples. Number 1, let's talk about corporation. So let's just say there's 1,000 shares of stock that have been issued. So that would mean that anyone that owns 250 or more shares of stock in that entity would have a 25% ownership interest in that entity. The same goes for a limited liability company. If you own 25% or more, someone owns 25% or more of that LLC or 25% or more of a partnership, then that person would be considered a beneficial owner. Okay, second example is someone who doesn't own 25% or more of the ownership interest, but they have 25% or more of the profits interest. So there are certain members, for example, in a limited liability company that are not full-fledged members, but they have an economic interest in the entity or a profits interest, but they don't have any voting rights. So because they have a profits interest, whether it's an LLC or a corporation or a partnership of 25% or more of the profits, that makes them a beneficial owner of that entity. Third example is someone who has a voting interest or voting control of 25% or more. If I don't own 25% of the entity, but I have 25% or more of the voting control, I would be considered a beneficial owner. Next question is whether someone qualifies as a beneficial owner because they exercise substantial control over the entity. A person will be considered to exercise substantial control over the entity if they fall into one of the following categories. For example, if you are a senior officer of a corporation, a CEO, a COO, a CFO, or a general counsel, or someone with a similar function, maybe with a different title, in a corporation or an LLC or a partnership, for example, a manager in a manager-managed LLC or a general partner in a limited partnership, then you would be considered someone exercising substantial control. You can find more information on what it means to exercise substantial control on FinCEN's website and also in the Small Entity Compliance Guide. Again, I put links to both of those in the description under my video. All right, so we've tackled what is a beneficial owner. The next question is, what is a company applicant? The applicant, generally speaking, is a person or entity that filed your registration documents. Someone who filed your articles of organization if you're an LLC or articles of incorporation if you're a corporation in the state when your entity was formed. This could be a corporate services company like Busy, which used to be called InkFile, and they recently changed their name to Busy. It could be your attorney or a paralegal if they filed the documents for you. It might also be you if you're the beneficial owner and you did it on your own. Just keep in mind that you do not have to disclose the company applicant information unless your company was formed on or after January 1st, 2024. Okay, so now we know what is a beneficial owner, what is a company applicant. Let's discuss what you need to disclose to FinCEN. First, I'm going to address what information about the company must you disclose. Number one, the name of the company. Number two, the principal address of the company in the United States. Number three, any trade names or DBAs. If you're doing business as a name other than your company name, you have to disclose that. Number four, if you're a foreign entity that is registered in the U.S., you have to provide your U.S. address, and it cannot be a PO box number. Number five, the jurisdiction of formation or registration. This would be the state in which you formed your entity. Number six, your IRS issued EIN or employee identification number, also known as a tax ID, or the tax identification number, or TIN. Okay, so we've covered the company. Now the next question is, what information do you have to disclose about the beneficial owner and, if applicable, the company applicant? Number one, the beneficial owner or company applicant's legal name. Number two, the date of birth. Number three, your residential address of the beneficial owner. If the company applicant is an attorney or corporate services company, then you would provide the business address. Number four, an identifying number from either a driver's license or passport. And number five, a copy of either that driver's license or passport from which you took the identifying number. Okay, the next question, number 6 of 10, is when must this report be filed? The answer is as follows. If your entity was formed before January 1st, 2024, then you have until January 1st, 2025 to file the report. If your company was formed during 2024, but before 2025. You have 90 days from the date of formation to file the report. If your company is formed on January 1st, 2025 or thereafter, you have to file this report within 30 days of the formation. Question number 7 of 10. Do you have to file an annual report? What about updates? What about corrections? The answer is no, you do not have to file an annual report. If there are any changes to the company information or the beneficial owner information, you have to provide an updated report within 30 days of that change taking place. If a report is inaccurate, you have to correct the report within 30 days of becoming aware of the inaccuracy. You got to make sure you discover this inaccuracy within 90 days of the original due date of the report. Number 8, a very important question is who's going to have access to the information? The answer is, first and foremost, the public will not have access. It's really limited to federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies, and they have to have a reason to request the information. It's also available to certain financial institutions, but you need to provide consent for that financial institution to access this information. So once again, the public will not have access to this information. If you're concerned about anonymity of who are the owners or who are the officers or the managers or someone exercising substantial control, this information is very protected. It's not available to the public. Number 9 of 10, what are the penalties if you don't comply with the Corporate Transparency Act? This is what bothers me the most. I feel like it's government overreach. But it is what it is. This is what the law states. And the penalties are as follows. $500 a day fine, up to $10,000 max per entity, and the possibility of criminal penalties, which may include up to 2 years in jail. And that is very scary stuff. You don't need any of this on your record. Even if you can afford the fine, don't risk that. Make sure you file this form on a timely basis. With that said, note that FinCEN has said in their frequently asked questions that they'll provide a 90-day grace period, but they say you may avoid penalties. I don't like that as an attorney. I don't like phrases like you may avoid penalties. That means you could have penalties or you could not. You just don't know. So file it on a timely basis and you don't have to worry about it. Question number 10 is, how do you file this report? The answer is you can file it starting January 1st, 2024 or thereafter online. I'm going to put a link to where you would file it online. Again, I'm going to have a tutorial video on how to file it. I'm going to take you through the process step by step. Once the video is made, I'm going to put a link down below in the description. I'm going to put a link up here to that tutorial video. Well, I hope you liked the video, and if you have any questions, please put them in the comment section under my video. I answer questions on a regular basis. If you like this video, I encourage you to give me the thumbs up. And if you want to subscribe to my channel, I encourage you to do that as well. Have a great day. Thanks for watching. And as you know, I like to feature my dog, who's really the best part of all of my videos, in each video.